Hey everybody, you do have my attention every day until April 10th, but this gets to be a really exhausting exercise doing it daily. So I understand if you use this algorithm, you purchase a copy of the MLB algorithm or the subscription, which goes until April 10th, and you get these emails from me with the file, and you start to see different things that I'm doing with it to make it better, to make it easier to use, but it also gets more complicated as well. So what I'm going to do is kind of gloss over some things I've done, but use the tools that I have built over the last day here to help you analyze things and draw some conclusions from stuff. So in summary, we're looking at simulated results so far for the day, for Sunday. We're looking by stat year as something we can toggle by, meaning which year's team pitching and team batting stats we are using. We have to use last year at the beginning because there are no stats for this year, but we're now getting 3 games into the season, 4 games into the season, and you're actually going to want to use 2023. Even though it has a worse day today, it's going to become more powerful. And so what I want to talk about is I've updated the macro in this file now to run both years and all combinations. So what I mean by that is, assuming this Cleveland game ends 6-5, we're going down to the list of today's games. I have 2 days showing, which I'm normally not going to have 2 days showing. Usually it's just going to be 1 day, but I did want to show you how you could compare days and do simulations. So this game is 6-5 in the bottom of the 10th right now. Guy on third, 2 out. We'll see if the Mariners can pull it off, which has not been consistent with how the Mariners have been playing this season. So we'll see if Cleveland holds on. Let's assume that they do for the purposes of running the macro, all right? So check this out. You go to your testing cube and you make sure that you clear out everything in the testing cube. Now, we have every result except for the Philadelphia, Texas game. We're going to go view macro, run test 25. And what it is doing is it is testing all 25 combination strings that we have for 2022 team pitching and team batting stats. And then it's running the same 25 different distributions of combinations again over 2023's team batting stats as the source data. So it's running both of them. It just made the change if you're watching the screen there. And for some reason, it keeps saying 2. No, now it's working. All right. Yeah, it's going to go through all of them and dump them in the testing cube so that we can actually easily browse in our T-Cube pivot sheet where we're doing all of our research on simulations of all the different combinations and how they blend together to make a well-rounded depiction of how the game might go. And it's done. And so you get this. And now we can really analyze the day. And this is kind of cool to analyze because I get to test something else, which I want to test. So get this. So you've got 2022 first, which is supposed to be better. Now it goes 7-7. Is Cleveland won? It's 1-2. Who's up at bat? Cal Raleigh. He does have Raleigh in his name, spelled like Raleigh, like the capital of North Carolina. No, is it the capital of North Carolina? I hope so. I think it is. We'll see if this guy, I feel like he's going to strike out. I feel like Trevor Stephen pitching for Cleveland is going to strike him out. But we'll wait and see. Let's assume that happened. So we're looking at 2022, first of all, and we're looking for wins at higher margins. We're looking to be profitable with margins above 10%. We are dead even at 0%. Hilarious. Going 5-3. Losing a couple big games. We'll see why we lost those games in a second. I didn't watch any of them. Yep, they won. Cleveland won. So 2022 is break even. So this is not a winner. So we're keeping track. I'm not calling today a winner because it's not. That's at 2022 stats. What about 2023 stats? Above 10% margin are these games with Texas still on the schedule. 7 of them, you've gone 4-2 so far. And right now you are profitable before this game. So this would be a rubber match game for real profitability, which would make 2023 better, wouldn't it? However, if you lose the Texas game, 2023 is worse. So, wow, you're going with Texas. And why are you going with Texas? Because if we look at the matchup sheet and the comparison with 2023 stats in here, you see that Texas could score a tremendous amount of runs because they have put up 13 runs a game so far this season, which is funny. Now, let's do something else. Okay. Not only are we looking at all these records, assuming 2020, I want to switch something else, which is I want to switch in the lineup sheet. This is where I really go insane. Is I'm like, I don't care at all about 2022 anymore. Screw 2022. Screw that even numbered year. Let's go with 2023. Let's go with a Michael Jordan year. This is going to be a kick butt year where the stats this year mean everything. I always do this. I'm going to adjust this thing to be completely flipped. And we're going to call it 10% last year, 90% this year. Oh my gosh. That means we're only caring about the first 1 or 2 games that these guys have played as mattering at all, right? That completely changes the batting order pivot here. Everyone has a different weight now. And let's see here. It's going to change their lineup factor. Like, look at these teams that apparently stink. Nobody's hitting on Minnesota and Kansas City. So it's going to change scores. It's going to change everything, right? Well, we just did that. So let's redo our macro and totally take a look at this thing. What if the lineup factors are completely different? And so we remember what won here and what these things look like, right? 2022 is even money above games here, 5-3. 2023 is 4-2 with a pivot game on Texas. Okay. All right. Clear out testing cube again. And this interests me is to run stuff like this, because now you're like, all right, what if we're now only caring about this year's lineup factor? That's insane. Like one game. But I don't know, like, is Texas going to put up a bunch of runs again tonight? Because for some reason, whatever's in the water in Texas, they're seeing the ball great and they're just lining it out of the park. I mean, I don't know the answer to that question. But I know the macro is going to give us an answer. So really, we're looking at like 2023 team stats, 2023 player and team pitching and batting. So if you are using basically just that, then you don't have to do any more referencing to 2022. And that's the point, is how quickly can we migrate to 2023 only? Because that's what I want to leave you with, is something that's winning, that's winning 3 out of 4 days in a row, giving you more than 10% ROI or something here, above 10% margin. Well, let's see what it was now, what it would do. So 2023 is 8-6. Okay. With Texas still going, and it gives you these games right here, of which you go 3-2 so far, and you're at -4, completely dependent on Texas. But Texas is up here because they're scoring so many runs. And it puts LA and Atlanta, if you mix 2022 team pitching and team batting. But it wins a bunch at the bottom and goes 9-5. Interesting. And then it has San Francisco for some reason over the Yankees. And it would have had Baltimore over Boston, a high scoring game. Okay. All right. I like that it puts these games up here with big margins of victory. It moves the Angels and Tampa Bay higher. I don't know what happened with the Dodgers. And we'll see if Texas hits Philadelphia again, which it would say they would, as that game is about to start. It has the Mets. It has St. Louis in this version. Has Cleveland. Has Cincinnati. I like this. Okay. So All right. Well, I'm going to go nuts and leave this batting order in there. I'm going to leave this when I send this to you tomorrow, which is heavy 2023 C score. Because I'm just going to do that. And we'll see, because it just gives you insight into stuff that's happening right now. And that kind of matters, I think, for predictions, because this is better than before. And this is actually really good too. You get a nice mixture here. I'm not sure what came off the list. Did the Cubs? Yeah, the Cubs come off the list with 2022, and that's what makes that slightly better. But this is all way down here. I wouldn't worry about these games under 10% as much. Those are not the ones you're supposed to bet. So, wow. All right. I feel like we've accomplished something, and we now have a nice, easy way to test both years pitching and batting, and toggling the weight of each player's individual C score by changing this formula, which is referencing both of these years. And we're doing 10% on last year, 90% on this year right now, because we're crazy. Yeah, that's what we're doing. I like doing that. I like being ahead of the curve on it, because I don't want to get blindsided by looking at last year's stats when somebody's really hot in the first week of the season, hitting the ball out of the park. Like, that, is your ability to hit a home run today based on your number of home runs that you hit yesterday? I think the answer is yes. I think when people are hitting home runs, they're hitting more home runs. And so, yeah, there you go. As well as hits and other things that are tied to current season stats. All right. Good luck, everybody. Tomorrow's Monday, the 3rd. That would mean another week of me doing baseball. Then I'll do something like WNBA for a week or so after tax season. We got taxes to do, folks. There's taxes and there's stock market to do. There's a lot of other things I'm coming out with, but baseball is a extensive daily thing. And if it's your thing, you can open this up and do one day at a time, and it's going to work pretty well, just updating with the stats and watching the videos. I've talked about how to update each area of stats, because it's making it a lot easier to browse your potential results now. Looking at yesterday would have been 10-5 on 2023. Oh, wow. Yesterday would have won the top 8 this way. Yeah, because you're looking at current season player stats. We shouldn't read too much into this because it's very, very limited. But tomorrow will be a really interesting look, because we'll have some more player stats to throw in here. And if you think about the relationship in algebra about what we're doing when it comes to gathering a correct lineup factor and team player and team batting stats, I mean, just if you look at the number of games played, it's at 2 in here, which means we had 100% increase in the number of days of stats yesterday from 1 to 2. Now, tomorrow, when we will have 3 in here, we will have added another 50% of database to our stats, in terms of games. That relationship and how big that percentage keeps jumping each day doesn't increase. It's going to decrease in its percentage, because then you're going to go from 3 to 4 on the next one, which will be a 33% increase. Then you're going to go 4 to 5, which will be a 25% increase. It's going to keep, that number is going to keep shrinking. But the first few days, you can see how you went from 100% to 50% to 33%. Those are huge jumps in database size, which makes this, even though it's only a few days, it makes this much more reliable in terms of regressively testing it. It gives you a lot more data points. Your database is increasing by percentage, essentially, of quality data. So that's why I get excited to do 2023 really, really, really fast. Even though we're like one series into the game, we'll go to a next series. And after the next series is done, which is, as we start to approach April 10th, and you get really through 3 series, and you get through pitchers going through the rotation at least once, most of the time twice. And then at the very end, you'll have like the 3rd pitcher start will be going by the time we're done on the 10th. So that becomes enough time to explain the process of all the different tabs as we go every day, and little weird adjustments we have to make, so that you can handle anything coming in and out of this file and update it for just one day. Like, for example, I'm going to end you on this if you're still with me, because it'll matter. I am now done, and I'm happy with the results from, I shouldn't say that. I'm going to get rid of every other day's stats tomorrow, and I'm going to start clean with a brand new set, which means everything from the matchup sheet is going to disappear. You'll see everything just disappeared. And we're going to reset the whole thing, and we're going to go down to only 50, 15 games or however many games there are tomorrow. And there's going to be no history. So that means that all this stuff is going to go away. But it's important to know that you can't just open this up one day, do some work on it that day, and it will work as good as the version that I'm working with, essentially, unless you missed some lineup changes. But that just means you might have to do some lineup adjustments that day that you actually run the file, because some people are going to pop into lineups that are going to have errors, and they're not going to fill out their batting order pivot thing here, and there'll be some breaks in here. And so we're still just going to do it one day at a time for all those people that are asking me about keeping history. Keeping history, my opinion on it is it's good to look at once in a while, and not a good idea to manage in your every day-to-day file, because it's not needed to manage in your every day-to-day file. You care about whether or not you're going to win today's games. You'd like to get the best prediction on whether or not that's going to happen, and that involves checking on historical stats, but it doesn't mean running historical simulations from day to day. Like, this isn't all that helpful to see what this would have been under the new simulation and new stats, because that's what it is for yesterday. This is not actually how well we did. We didn't do this yesterday because we didn't have the stats to do it yet. But regressively, it is telling us this is how it would have done if we had the stats that we have from today to feed into the model. That's why this is not as valuable, and this is not a true history of how this thing did. This is a true history of how things could have happened today on the second, because we had all these stats, although we didn't have the current lineups when I did the video last night or early this morning, whatever. Well, early this morning. We didn't have all the stats yet, or the lineups, but we got them throughout the day. So with the information you could have had throughout the day, you could have got this order. And we'll see, now that you know that Texas is supposed to put up a lot of runs, because that's what they would do normally so far this season. We'll see if that happens. All right. Yeah, so I'll be back Monday with a much shorter list in here, as I put that back. I don't want to get rid of. Yeah, we're going to leave them in for now, because I do want to test the final result at the end of the day and leave it in there. No, that's not true. We can get rid of it if we want to. All right, guys. Good luck, everyone. I hope your picks won today, and I hope they continue to be winning. And I hope you're learning something about, there's all these parts to the file. It's completely unlocked. There are no secrets about what's going on here. I want everyone to use it to their own benefit, to put in their own intelligence to make this thing do better than I can do with it. But I also want to program it to do better than all of us could do, because the AI should be able to read into the relationships of things with the basic stats that we have, should be able to do that better than a human can, because there's so many stats involved. So that's essentially what I'm doing with this regression testing, because if we start to lose specific things a lot, or put things out of order and the odds makers are beating us, like here the odds makers beat us in this scenario because these underdogs lose. Yeah, I mean, the odds makers do better than us here. They do better than us here, kind of, as well. So the odds makers are beating this thing. This is 2 days in a row now. They beat us yesterday too. Because if you're losing underdogs, this thing is losing. And I know we lost underdogs yesterday, even though it doesn't. Yeah, we lost all the dogs, but didn't have Miami over the Mets. No, this is not right. All right, I'm talking too much. Point is I'll be back tomorrow. We're learning more, and eventually we will beat the odds makers consistently, because we will adjust 2023 and incorporate the proper distributions so that it does beat the odds makers daily. You don't just look at one day and say, oh, this is how it should have gone. But we got an order to things, and this does help us determine if our order is working properly. All right, good luck, everyone. May all your picks be winning.